Hello ladies, hello gentlemen, welcome to Have the Race Gone for the second round of the Simpact Aston Series. We're here at Brands Hatch. It's gonna be tight, narrow, twisty and fast, bumpy indeed as well. Let's hope the road is not too bumpy for the drivers of our two fields. Mind you, of course, we have a support series as well that's taking place first. That is the GT4 series before the main event, taking place and part in the pretty much still new Aston Martin DBR1s, the old GT1 machine from 2010, 9, 10, something in that order. I don't remember. I'm joined in the booth by the lovely Martin, and soon to be joined as well by, I think that was the mute from Traels. Perfect timing there, joining us in the booth just as we kick it off and go to live pictures here from practice.
Hey! What's up? Hey. Hello guys. Welcome to another night of Simpact Racing. Isn't it sweet? And we can guarantee that this is indeed a 100% corona-free stream.
Yes. We've even made sure to spread out commentary duties in 3 different rooms. So we're doing our share. We're doing this the modern way from home.
Yeah. Actually, what a missed opportunity to launch this as us being really careful. Yeah, tonight we won't be in the booth together.
Yeah, we should have done that.
At Have the Race Gone, we take our utmost precautions when it comes to viruses, and we have decided to keep it all digital for tonight. And cool detail from Discord, if we want to give a quick shout out to such a big company, but they've apparently increased the limits in the Discord streams, so you can host classrooms and lectures and all kinds of stuff like this as a reaction to coronavirus. So shout out to those guys for doing that. That's actually pretty cool.
Very much so. There. That's really the right spirit of creating opportunities where opportunities are.
But what they should have done is give us 60 FPS Discord.
Oh yeah. So we're awaiting the start of the GT4, the support series qualifying session. Of course, this very much being a sprint race, tires and fuel still ×2. Heavy damage, of course, still on, so they are not gonna want to make too much contact. But other than that, no real strategy required. It's a race from line to line, if you will. And with that said, hello and a very warm welcome to everyone that's tuning in here on this dramatic Thursday in Europe, at least most of Europe. This day, it's hard not to touch upon it in some kind of way, because it's been dramatic is the word.
It's good for Simracing, though.
It's certainly gonna be.
I wouldn't mind me a lockdown. Can we get some lockdown before Sebring 12 hours? Please. Someone come weld my door quickly. I'm joking, of course. That's a bit early to make that joke. But please come.
But we are here. We're safe, and we are ready to entertain for the next hour and a half, 2 hours or so. We're gonna have if last weekend's racing was anything to go by, it's gonna be great. Wake, welcome to you. Mohada, nice to see you. Dutch Racing as well. Jimmy, of course, nice to have you along. Rotary here. Oh no, that's Lemon. Lemon, the ever supported Italian, who also last week proved to be very much the fast boy. Here with great support again, it looks to me.
Very much the fan favorite. He is the Italian boy.
And let's see if he can get some of that fan boost he got last time. Really helped him along. What a strong performance from him. Oh no!
Oh no!
What is he?
Oh, he's going backwards over the track. Oh no!
Typical Dr. Hash nonsense going on. Always good to have that guy in one of the races.
Yeah, Dr. Hash is here for LDLC. Also with a strong performance last week in the GT4 race, Rotorius. We have Frank Lucid. We have from the Arrows Racing team, it's Haiti. We have Ferdinand from the Clean Race Network, and Anthony as well from Team Mentalism. Another Italian, probably fetch a bit of support there. We have DVSR. We have Flickflock. Good old Flickflock, I want to say almost. It seems like he's been in these TSR/Simpact series for the good part of an eternity. Same goes for Addy. Goes all the way back to...
back to the M3 series.
Exactly.
I suppose.
Back to the M3 series it is, which still stands like as my proudest moment in at least in GT Sport racing.
Yeah, you were strong in that one. That's right. He can apply to your career.
Oh, and I was always the M3 world. What was it? Anyway, we got the qualifying session for the GT4 race beginning now.
Now.
What's up, Nick, Gabbiano, Nicholas? Nice to have you along. Sebastiano as well. Welcome to all of you. Here we have it. Qualifying for 5 minutes or so. Oh, there's a bit of...
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh no. They're wrecking in the pits.
Oh no, there's a pit bug. There's a pit bug.
No. Oh.
Who is that? That's...
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
That does not bode well for the race to come, knowing GT Sport being lobby issues, all that. Oh, we're gonna have to see. Anyway, warm-up lap on the way. Let's go across the field because there is even a couple of drivers that we have failed to mention yet. One of them being GT Welsh, the TSR mainstay and organizer of this particular series, alongside Wake the Lad, who's done a big amount of work on putting this stuff together. And thumbs up. It's been, so far at least, been... still gotta have the possibility to remain critical of any future... No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's been a great format, and it's very nice to have a two-race session like this that's really angled towards the broadcast as well. They try to keep all the in-between time, all of the interludes as short as possible, and that's really enjoyable when you're talking about it and viewing it as a spectator. It's nice to have that quick succession on the action.
Indeed, it is.
Speaking of quick succession of the action, here we go. The guys are out. Nice little flash of speed there from Dr. Hash.
We're looking at 2 laps, I think. Here, I don't think they're gonna make 3 at it.
It's gonna be 2. I'm thinking.
It's about just over a minute and 30. We're looking at, I think, lap times for the GT4s, and then of course the DBR ones a notch faster than that. Around here, they should be dipping well into the 20s. Good conditions for Brands Hatch. That's at least somewhat better than we saw last week at the Red Bull Ring, and that's gonna provide us with a little bit of a different experience, and maybe also a different challenge for the drivers, with the cars behaving very differently than at the first race.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's definitely always a possibility that provides a big shakeup in the order of things. So, although we did see Lemon look very Dr. Ash with a big moment there, but he keeps it going, keeps it pointing relatively straight. Good work from him. But as I was saying, as we see here, he just misses the apex, doesn't clip the curb, and there's no way you're gonna get through like that. Well done to hold it and keep it going. And now they're gonna be side by side here, coming up the straight, coming into the next right-hander, and that's not what any of them needed for that. Dr. Hash a bit upset, and now he's gonna hold up the guy further back. I can't read text.
DVSR, it is DVSR indeed. Yep. Well,
I didn't remember his name correctly, so I'm happy with that. But Unfortunately, although this is a Corona-free stream, it does provide us with some difficulties in terms of reading some of the names. So we have to familiarize ourselves.
What's up, Shoma? Nice to have you on, mate. And congratulations on a well-held IGTL event.
Yeah, great times.
It was great times.
We had indeed.
And can I say thanks to everyone who tuned in last weekend as well? It was awesome for us here on the channel. Pretty big numbers. Be Scandinavian about it. It was we peaked at 152 viewers, which is a new channel record. That's pretty insane. And when we ended up picking up 114 subscribers in the space of 1 week, which is pretty insane. So thank you so much to everyone who's been tuning in for the first time as well. It's really nice to see so many new faces tuning in for these GT Sport broadcasts. Anyway, you see some of the field actually just about made it there for a third lap. A nice bit of pace here, and let's go over the results of qualifying so far. We have provisional results that are Swablu, who puts it in the grass before Graham Hill. It is no, that's by no means Graham Hill.
That will be Sterling's, if I'm not completely mistaken.
That is indeed Sterling's, Martin. Good call.
Ooh.
Rotorius is second
Bit
on
of
the
a
grid.
gaggle up ahead.
There is a bit of a gaggle, but I think some of these cars here have completed 2 laps instead of 3. But still with Swablu on pole position in front of Rotorius, then the 2, I was about to say the 3 Italians actually, but we've got Tomsov there in the middle, the TSR driver as well in 4th place, but it's Anthony for Team Mentalism in 3rd, and then it's Setanta in 5th, Lemon in 6th there with Welsh and Stick in 7th and 8th place. We got Frank
It is looking
Lucid.
to be quite a different order from the grid than what we saw last time around. I'm wondering if that's the difficult nature of the track or that we're having different conditions. I'm not quite sure, but I'm seeing some names on the back of the grid that were on the front end last time around and the other way around as well.
Yeah, very much so. We did also see a few packs developing. We were keeping our eye on Verdinkum and Dr. Hash getting tangled up with another driver. Not quite sure who that was, but I did see on the map that there was also another bit of a gaggle going on, and that's not really what you want in qualifying. So perhaps also the kind of small, tight nature of the track means that people got bunched up a bit more. And bunching up, I think there will be once we get this race underway.
Yeah, we're looking at a single formation lap and then, 7 laps of racing? Exactly, it is. Gotta remember that one correctly. And it is, of course, tempting to think that they're gonna fly straight off the line, but I actually like the rolling start. Rolling start! We should have had that, actually. But I like
Someone get us the tune!
Quick!
Yeah, it's a permanent fixture on my Streamlabs, but might be a bit much work getting it out. You could be able to find it though. Serious wiggling going on here. These guys have ants in their heads.
Big wiggles. Very big wiggles. Ooh. Ooh.
You want to keep those tires nice.
Ooh, bit of contact there further back.
It's getting a little squiggly. We're gonna have another look. I mean, how far back? Oh yeah, I see that.
There we go.
Oh yeah,
the
up ahead.
orange and the green car. There we go. See, they're hanging on each other.
Stick and no, who's that?
And there's definitely a bit of touching going on. I'm wondering if that's some sort of bug we're having. But I was
I'm wondering if they're not seeing each other.
It does very much seem like such a sort of problem because Stick is not giving. Yeah, that's the problem.
That is surely what's going on. This should be very difficult for these two guys to work out.
This is my.
I saw you start to type something. I don't think that's a bad idea. These guys kind of deserve a restart here. They're gonna wreck out.
Yeah. I think one of them already did.
Yeah. Just as I said so.
Yeah.
You need to type something.
I'm the one typing now.
Do something!
Someone's not senile. It's almost too late to end it. Once it gets going, I'd say it's too late to do anything.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
we're at the point where race direction can actually do something about it, because if we go, we're probably going.
Do we have someone that's taking care of race while the two organizers are racing? That's
Usually in the TSR series, we're used to someone sitting around doing like the back office sort of stuff, but I'm not really sure if we have someone sitting around today, because normally that would be either.
You know
those
what?
guys are in the car.
Yeah, either it would be Stig
why are
or
they
it
gonna
would be Welsh,
leaning-
and they're
why-
both on track.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? They're gonna be going, and I
We're
found
gonna
the
be
tune.
going.
Cue it now!
Oh, Stiggy peeling off into the pits already.
Stiggy's rear end was absolutely nailed up, and he doesn't even really understand why.
And he has had issues last week as well. That's a shame.
That's a
But they're
big shame.
green, they're off, and the rolling start has commenced, and there's a... What is that? Looks like...
Oh, there's...
Oh.
Oh.
A lot of cars seem to get through pretty well.
And
Well, she off the grass there, coming back onto the track. It's looking okay. We got another car, a bit of, kind of lagged out there, the white one.
And soon the chaos, someone's going backwards through Druids.
Someone lost it there in Druids.
Someone did. Oh, yeah. I think that's Frank Lucid, indeed.
Again, one of the CRN boys having a bad time in the first lap of the race.
It's heartbreaking because they're such good guys.
They really are. They really are.
Yeah.
But Rotori is doing well
touchy.
for CRN now. It's Dr. Hash trying to look up the inside. Oh, and almost pushing him off. That's a big old wiggle.
Push him off. Well held there.
Anthony's on the inside here. And he takes that position through Dingledale. Down to Sterling's now. They come almost 3 wide into the corner. And in the
That was
end,
prematurely with 3 wide.
they did for a moment go 3 wide. They're still very closely bunched up here. I was about to say onto the start-finish bend. Because it's hardly ever straight, is it? For a few meters there in the middle. Let's have another look at that whole situation there. On board here with Dr. Hash. You can see there on the inside is Anthony. Oh, just about space on the outside for Hash. Does well to keep it there. Rotorius in front is going to be gaining from all this. Let's go back to the action. Swablu still up ahead. Doing well.
Yeah, Swablu's had a great start. He's managed to not really get involved in any of the chaos we saw at the beginning. So, perfect start from him. And he already has a bit of a gap developing.
Look here, Lemon and Stick, were they the two drivers who didn't see each other before, and now they're 4/10 apart from one another?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Cue the
That
Jaws
spells
team.
trouble.
Yeah.
Or Welsh? Was it Welsh that had all the contact? I'm a little bit
I
in
believe
doubt now. No, it was
Stig.
not. It was Stick indeed,
I
yeah.
think it was Stig. Yeah, Welsh made that avoidance of Stig once he came out of the pits, and we saw him just sliding back onto the track from the grass. But that was the only part where he was involved.
Speaking of sideways, that was Hay going
Couple of guys.
well sideways.
Very wide there, yeah. And is that Setanta further back in the green car? He seems to have a lot of damage to his rear end.
The
A lot
Tanta's
of
car
chaos.
is messed up indeed.
Gnarled up. Yeah.
Sitting there in 10th place, that has taken quite the beating. I think he was one of the... He's carrying rear right suspension damage and rear aero as well.
But judging from the amount of scuffing on the paint, he seems to almost have gotten away with it pretty easily.
Yeah, that seems like it's been pretty cheap to me.
Very aggressive move on Welsh there. A bit of banging as well, but they got through.
Yeah, that's an aggressive set, but then again, in a sprint race, there's not a lot of time to make up the places lost in the chaos.
You can't really dwell on it. And not too bad of a opportunistic move. Welshie turning in there, maybe a bit hard as well.
And Brands Hatch never having really been a track that is known for too many overtaking opportunities as well.
No, a very, very tough track to run sprint races on as they go too wide up through here. Not a place you normally want to make that too wide.
Up through Westfield, that's impressive.
Continuing it through Dankledale. Dankledale, I say Dinkledale, of course.
Here through goes Tanta there. That seems to be a really good battle. At least we can see these three drivers not having any issues seeing one another, that's for sure. Swablu still leading Rotorius, but only by 0.6 of a second. It's by no means over here. Dr. Hash in third place with Anthony and Lemon, the two Italians, closely following. I say closely.
Yeah, Rotorius has really closed down the gap over the last lap. It was quite a lot bigger last time we checked it out. So he's definitely moving on Swablu, and Swablu might need to go defensive here. Dr. Hash as well with that really aggressive start, continuing to make moves and close the gap up to the two leaders.
I think Hash is finding himself a little bit under pressure here from Anthony and Lemon, because especially Anthony really on his bumper.
Really close there, yeah.
Lawrence, sexy stuff. Someone told me that sexy stuff is going on here.
And yeah, Mew, sadly we don't quite have one that street just yet, but we really should.
Oh, Anthony goes into the gravel trap.
Oh no!
Ow!
He's off!
Have another look.
He's off the track!
He's off. What? It's really under pressure from behind. Oh no, he just goes straight on. And
he just kind of misses his turn in. It seems like the track is not wide enough for you to miss your turn in at that point.
Comes under pressure from Hagi as well. Hagi? I guess it is.
Yeah, I'd say Hagi.
Hagi.
Hagi, mainstay as well of our Discord. One of the guys always around in there. So happy to see him in the race here. Happy to see him get that move done as well. Really good racing. Anthony now making it around to the inside, coming up to Druids. It's a difficult one for Hagi to defend. He might have the chance to look for the cutback. Doesn't quite find a gap there. Anthony all the way out onto the AstroTurf. And I think he's going to do that again right here. Not quite, but yeah. Hagi actually getting a pretty good run there, but it's going to be all about setting it up for the straight here. I think he actually makes the move around the inside, but that's going to leave him with a poor exit speed, and he's going to lose out coming up over the straight here.
Yeah, Welsh gaining quickly here as well.
Oh, it's a gaggle.
It's a gaggle. It's a gaggle up ahead as well. I think it's becoming a battle for first place here, as there is not a lot of time left actually to decide this race. We are on lap 6 of 8. It's still Swablu in the lead. Rotorius catching... Not quickly, but he's catching. He's made up a 10th since last time we checked. Dr. Hash still there or thereabouts in third, but I think it's going to be difficult for the German to really get in there unless any of these two makes a big mistake.
Yeah, Rotorius is going to try and get firmly into the rear view mirror of Swablu, because there's not a lot of time left with only 2 short laps to go as we come over Paddock Hill Bend.
And into Druids they go. Lemon now attacking Dr. Hash, and behind here it's Stick and Tomsoft going for it. What happened? Oh yeah, Anthony went off. That's... Or Anthony, as it is, of course, but he went into the gravel trap. I forgot that completely for a short moment there, as we're on the penultimate lap. Oh... Yeah, that's quite a gap now.
Presence in the top 5. They're quite fighting there. Stick and Tomsoft deciding who will be the last man to finish out on that top 5. Rotorius has been right there for so much of the race, just seeming to be unable to quite get close enough to make a move. Lemon and Dr. Hash, however, that battle is just, they're glued to each other right now. And now Dr. Hash finds himself in a situation where the flash button won't do him any good.
Well, that's
It's
for
gonna
sure.
be all about corner exit for these last 2 laps. Or this last lap, it'll be very soon. Quite a quick entry from Lemon there, but he doesn't quite get the exit to match it.
Bit of tactical swerving going on as well on the Brabham between brackets straight. It's not that much of a straight.
The Brabham by.
Dr. Has going very defensive.
Very defensive indeed, and I think that's not a too dumb of a move. He definitely needed to do that. He had a big run there, Lemon.
Yeah, he was well on the outside as well. Tried to get his nose in before Graham Hill, but
This is going to be a difficult one last lap. It's all about setting it up, coming through here, and then coming up that straight. The right-hander coming up is not one where you want to be side by side, but I think that is the situation we're looking at here.
Lemon is firmly tucked into that slipstream now coming over the Pilgrim's drop. He's looking for it.
Oh, look at this up ahead now. Rotorius is right on the bumper of Swablu as well for the win of the race. He's gonna have an opportunity or two if he can just get a little bit closer.
Swablu's been looking absolutely flawless for this race so far. But now the heat is really on him. Just a couple of corners still to go. It's all about getting a really good exit right here. Give yourself enough space to line it up for the long right-hander. A very difficult corner to make and make stick, especially regarding exit speeds. And let's see what Rotorius manages.
Through and into the camera view they come, and Swablu takes the checker flag of the GT4 race right in front of Rotorius, and same way around for Dr. Hash and Lemon, who takes 3rd and 4th with Stick, and Tomsoft 5th, 6th, and it's gonna be Anthony for 7th. We're gonna be having Hagi for 8th. That sounds like it's kind of courses for dinner.
Yeah.
Satanta gets 9th place here. Welsh in 10th. We have Frank Lucid making his way up to 11th place here. DVSR in 12th. Flickflock in 13th. Fairthinkham still going around. Eddie has had some bad luck as well around the way.
Boink. The big boink.
The big
Biggest
boink.
of boinks.
The big boink.
Yeah, some really good racing there, especially a bit further back. Swablu really kind of just took that and ran away with it. A really well-run race from him. A good job to stay calm there in the end. Rotorius really didn't make it easy for him, but as you said in the start, it's not an easy track to make overtakes on. Some terrible luck further down as well with Frank Lucid, showing a bit of potential there, actually only losing 14 seconds in the scrum with that early punt/spin. So terrible luck there, and once again the ugly head of lag shows its face in GT Sport.
Indeed. And with the GT4 race done, we're gonna smack on the quick be back in a moment screen, and it doesn't mean that we're going anywhere, it's just to put something
We're gonna
on.
smack on.
That's
Smack it on me,
That's
Daddy.
that's actually very Danglish, I guess. It got to happen sometimes. So we're gonna wait a short moment for the DBR1 lobby to appear, to pop up, and we're gonna get that stuff, the main event, underway in not too long. It'll be around 5 minutes or so. Not of waiting time, of course, but I guess until we get qualifying going.
Qualifying going.
Qualify?
Qualifying going.
Not qualify.
But anyway, it was a really good race, the GT4 race.
It was a brilliant race, yeah.
Indeed, yeah. Usually, brands makes for you don't get the highest overtake count often at brands, but But the action there is, though, often gets very dramatic, and the lack of space, it's a very old school track. It's one of those racetracks that hasn't really seen any major change to it since the olden days. And that kind of shines through in the racing here, even in the modern times.
You know,
Yeah, I
like
wanna
some
say-
of the historic tracks that we have that have been having some major updates. I mean, sound for it. I mean, to be fair, I don't know about Zandvoort. Like, it's I don't know what your opinion is about it, but it is a bit of a shame to see that, like, historic touch, to see that go. We haven't, of course, seen any racing at the new updated Zandvoort track, but I might change my mind. But in first glance, I'm not really happy to see the old school curves and really small twisty track, to see that go, because Brands is now really just one of the tracks on current calendars that still has no big asphalt runoffs and any of that stuff. I'm not a big fan of the development of all that asphalt.
Absolutely not. And I mean, it's hard to oppose building tracks safer as much as you can. So I think some of the runoff areas is kind of hard to avoid. I think gravel traps is always better than tarmac runoffs. But for me, the worst thing is how they change the tracks to suit the way the cars are being built now, instead of forcing
The other
people
way
to
around.
build cars that suit the tracks. You know,
Yeah.
exactly. Like Zandvoort is such a fun track in sim racing. It's such a good track to just take a car out on and do laps and pretend you're on your own little private race. What's it called? Track day. You know.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really see that continuing as much, judging from the few laps we've seen around the place. It seems a bit weird, just to say it straight up. You know, it's.
Yeah.
A lot of those sharp corners have now become very similar, highly banked corners where you sort of throw the car in and then it kind of figures out the rest for you, you know? Which I'm
Yeah.
sure is going to look sick in a Formula One car, but I also think it's very dangerous in terms of how much action it actually provides and how interesting it is. So I'm skeptical. Let's hope they don't do it to Brands Hatch as well. Could you imagine? Just
Oh,
3-meter high walls and all these corners and a big embankment.
a 30-degree bank dingle dell.
All of this is now flat.
That would be terrible indeed, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it seems like it's almost doomed to be a loss with Zandvoort, but we'll have to see how it works out once we see some race cars on it.
Yeah.
Indeed. So we're back, by the way, with pictures, as you can probably see, from the GT1 event here in these Aston Martin DBR1s from 2010. So I think I said 9 earlier. 9, 10, but it's 10. I'll try to keep that in the back of my mind.
And
I
I'm
can find a
kind
little
of
space
surprised
for it.
actually that it's from 2010. That's a very late model DBR1.
Yeah, indeed, because when I think these GT1 spec cars, I always think back to like 2006
Yeah,
or so.
yeah. Even 5.
Yeah.
Even 4.
It was a nice era of big, beastie, beefy wagons, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so much more unpolished than they became
Yeah.
later. You know, like GTEs are still amazing machines, but they're just so polished now. You know, this was just so raw still. Yeah, a brilliant time for racing. These cars were so sick as well. Loud boys.
Loud boys, indeed. Ghosting here is the Portugueser in Grosso. He's got a Netso Racing teammate alongside him as well. Fresh in from the IGTL, it's Schosse. Here he is, the German. Rotorius taking part in this one as well. We got Aura from TX3. That's gonna be one to watch. Sparks.
Absolutely
then
gonna be
goes
one
here.
to watch.
Very competitive field, it has to be said.
Aura, of course, being one of the flavor makers of last week's race that we've had. Having a really feisty battle for first.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was good and long, and yeah, that lasted pretty much the entire race. If I'm not completely mistaken.
It pretty much did, yeah. All the way until the closing laps of the race.
A good little look at Rotary here, and perhaps the right time to make the distinction that we thought that Rotary and Rotorius was the same guy, and it's not. Just to make sure that everyone's aware.
Turns out we were very much mistaken.
Very much mistaken.
And having mentioned Aura, I think it's worth mentioning the other one of the top runners in that intense battle for last week's race win here, Nico 18 from the Clean Race Network. Yeah, but did so well in very tricky conditions on the Red Bull ring, but something tells me it's not going to be easy to control these machines on the racing hard tires. They don't provide myriads of grip.
No, and these cars don't exactly have the most highly developed traction control system either, so I think we will be seeing some sliding going on here and there.
Actually, traction control is... Oh,
what?
Nico 18
Oh,
clipped
no!
it.
Ow! Oh, no!
Jesus. Nico doing really well to demonstrate what I was talking about there. Really cool.
I think he just about...
Meanwhile, I want to say, what's up, Fair Income? Really nice race you put on there. A bit of a rough start with all the lagging and bumping going on, but nice showing either way. Time to cheer on your boy Nico here as we see him just experiencing what losing it is like.
Yeah, and that is something that I think a lot of drivers going around Brands Hatch has experienced. Just dipping onto the grass ever so slightly, finding it very, very slippery out there. And thus taking themselves for what could very literally be called a quick spin. Not around the block, but around the car's own axis.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Frank Lucid in the chat as well. Big F for you, mate. That was a terrible start you got there. That was so poor. Luck for you. Too bad.
That was...
We were all cringing at it.
Yeah, indeed. Sailor here as well, who did a very good job last week. Same goes for Ayrton Spenner, who started last on the grid. Did a brilliant job of moving up through the field, having overtaken something like half of the field at some point before running into some bad luck of his very own. But a good performance last week from Ayrton Spenner.
And a great name as well.
A great name, that is. We have Wake on the grid in the 59 Simpact machine for this one. And is Wake on his wheel for GT Sport now full-time? I guess so. I'd very much guess so.
I do believe that he is. And he is now racing the car that was being driven by T5 last week around, who showed a really strong performance as well. So Wake might be having a little bit of pressure on his shoulders to actually bring those points in, because contrary to the most championships that we have, the points are actually being distributed to the cars instead of the drivers. So if your teammates perform well, it's actually up to you to perform good as well and take the car to the championship.
That's a cool idea, actually. I gotta admit, I'm pretty bad at doing my homework, and I wasn't aware of that fact. That's actually very clever.
The more you know.
The more you know. Martin with the knowledge here, indeed. And speaking about knowledge, I think it's time to have a swift look at the rules of the series, the lobby settings, if you will. And as mentioned before, under dry conditions, only the hard compound available for the drivers. Tuning is off, which does not make the car any easier. And same goes for traction control and all other aids except for ABS, which is still allowed. And tires and fuel ×2, so not really any extreme wear, but enough that we're gonna see rounds of pit stop being necessary. And as seen in the first race, the support series, the GT4 race, damage is heavy as well. Last bits of things there as all slipstream, off track, and such lobby settings are set to real. Back to warm-up pictures, as I think we are slowly but surely getting closer to having anyone. We do have someone in here, but I tried to get everyone out my mouth. Ayrton Spencer, not having set a lap, but so far seeming to be in a very good pace through the first sector on this one. 2/10 up. Would kind of be a shame not to follow him around. Lost a little bit here into Westfield. Oh, and that's not a good exit.
Ooh. Yeah, purple up until he decided to just not bother with the apex there in that corner.
Yeah.
Looking like he might be pushing it just a bit hard. Not much to prove in practice, but you do tend to kind of feel like you have something to prove. Yeah, and cheers, Mew, much appreciated. As he said, if you're liking what you're seeing so far, please do consider supporting us by dropping in a like, especially here early in the stream. That'll really help us get just a bit more exposure as we get on the way.
Expose thyself, lad.
Expose thyself. Look at the pace put in here in practice by Sparks. Half a second clear pretty much of everyone else.
Oof.
And just pushing even further here on this lap. That's
and gaining quite a bit up through Druids there as well. So if he can keep this going, that's going to be an even bigger gap to look back on. And he continues to keep going pretty well through there. Welcome back, Jimmy. How did GT4 go? Well, I think that kind of depends on who you ask. I think if you ask the Clean Racing Network, it didn't go too well. But if you ask it from a viewership, we had some great racing going on. And if you keep asking from different angles, I'm going to get upset. But if you ask from the Simpact angle, it went really well as well.
I mean, CRN got second in the end, so it's not all bad for their on their part. 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. A bit of an oversight for me.
Being that second is the first loser, isn't that what they say? And if that's what you go by, I think your words are very true indeed. Restart time here. I don't know exactly why we're having that now. That might have been a mistake that it was started.
Yeah. More bugs being experienced, maybe.
Yeah.
Restart. We have Ronk in the chat saying, "I'm rooting for Sailor. He's my boyfriend, and I love him very much."
Aww.
I'm pretty sure that'll give you like plus 10 miles per hour.
Yeah, very much so.
Pretty sure.
Very much so.
Big fan boost there for Sailor.
The biggest of boost.
The biggest of booth. And yeah, fair. I think a commentary cam. I think we should all have a look at investing in our own personal cams. Me, Traels, maybe even Martin as well.
Oh, please don't. I just came out of bed.
That's exactly when the money is made.
That's the point.
And that's the thing to keep in mind about getting the webcam. If you're always like basically just out of bed, it's gonna pay for itself, that camera.
Yeah, that sort of makes sense.
It's a sound investment.
Yeah, I might.
Now, if only I can find the ear extension for my Blue Yeti. The one where you have like ears you can whisper into.
Oh, please don't. I don't think our channel is quite ready yet for ASMR sort of vibes.
Oh no, I'm not gonna do it on YouTube. You get banned if you do the really saucy stuff.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
That's good.
You think I know much about this stuff?
Well, yeah. If it's gonna be someone, it's gonna be you.
Sure that I'm an expert on the subject. No, I'm a creator. I'm not a consumer.
Yeah.
And yes, Mew, we're absolutely doing the Sebring Tour this weekend. Perhaps not the best of lead-ups we've ever had in terms of practice with the IGTL last weekend and all kinds of real-life commitments, but we're excited about it. Let's see how it goes. First big race in iRacing on the new tire model. So that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, but now we got Larry. We got Larry to lean on.
Larry.
We have Larry to lean on. We have Larry and his cousin.
Yeah, and I hung out with Larry. We have a new version called Larry Goes to IMSA. And, Larry going
That's
to
our
IMSA
version of Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
I messed up qualifying, so I started 24th, and I was 4th after 4 laps. So that was pretty good. Then I got distracted once you guys started chatting in New Kids Turbo, and I kind of binned it.
As we enjoy a short, brief moment of tree cam.
You should have a hotkey assigned to like some wellness music or like a special you can play when you have tree cam and fence cam.
That would be
sounds.
I'll figure that out. It's gonna be
like play some Enya when it's tree cam or something like that.
It's gonna be brilliant. Anyways, we have the 5 minutes of DBR1 qualifying getting away right about now. And drivers hasting to the track, of course. Not gonna be the same challenge for the DBR1 drivers to get 3 laps out of this qualifying session, but of course, nobody wants to waste too much time. And if I'm not completely mistaken, what we're seeing is a pit bug yet again. I'm afraid. Grosso.
Certainly looks that way. Oh! And Grosso prep.
No!
Goddamn pit bug.
He's
Seems
done.
like it's pretty powerful here at Brands, unfortunately.
Yeah, he seems to have sort of Austin powered it on the pit exit.
Yeah, I think you should be careful placing blame like that from a legal standpoint. I think you should say it got
Austin
Powers.
powered. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
There was an incident. Oh no!
Speaking of incidents,
That was a big incident for the number 00 car here of GT Welsh. And it looked very strange indeed.
Yeah, I think once again, he actually clips the apex pretty well. Just keeps his foot in it just a bit much there.
fully.
That's that GT4 throttle control hitting him hard that are coming through there. These older GT1 machines, obviously, they don't have quite the downforce that the modern GT3 machines that most of these guys will be more experienced with have. So he pays the price there in qualifying, and he'll be struggling to even make 1 lap now.
Yeah. I have to say that we're still seeing the fact that we're still seeing these same old bugs like the pit bug that's been in GT Sport for ages now.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like they should have, you know.
But you have 400 cars,
Yeah, I
looks
know
very
you have.
pretty.
Yeah, they do. But if you can't get them out on track from the pit, what good is it? I mean, I can tell you one really good way to get rid of the pit bug for good, and that would be to give the drivers the option of handling pit stops for themselves.
Yeah, manually. Yep.
That would be a very cool addition, and I think a lot of league racers, especially because it would be really aimed towards lobbies and league racing and such decision to implement into the game.
Yeah, but you just can't do it because of the way the game is set up. You would lose so much time relative to the guys that teleport from one end to the other.
Of course, yeah, it wouldn't be able to be applied from like a driver basis. It would be like on a lobby level.
Server basis.
Service basis, exactly.
Yeah, that would be great.
Just like an option you turn on or off, manual pit stops.
Yeah, they should get that. Schosse on a really quick lap here, or as we expected, high up as well. But Schosse actually beating him out by a tenth and a half. Very strong there.
Sparks, who were a half a second up in practice, not really making that lap materialize just yet. Ayrton Spencer with a very good qualifying lap in fourth.
Yeah, he showed us that quick space early. He showed us the quick pace early, but then he sort of didn't manage the latter half of the course. But he seems to have gotten that dialed now really strong. So showing Piolo in that very pretty Simpact DBR9 in 5th position at the moment, and a bit of a gaggle going on here. That's gonna hurt both of them.
Yeah, that's Rotorius.
Optimal for both of those guys. They are gonna have time to do another lap, but Rotorius doesn't make the move stick. And that's very, very unlucky for both of them. They are gonna affect each other coming onto the last lap unless he gives way here.
Rotorius.
Like he might be just pulling off a bit and building a gap that he can qualify in.
Yeah. That's Schosse doing the same. I think that is. I don't think Engrosso's actually made it out the pits yet. I think he's still trying, yeah, and failing to do so.
Man.
And that's of course none of his own doing. This old pit bug is getting tiresome. It's getting old. It's getting old, goddammit.
I seen it. I seen it.
Look at this Nico 18, who was so quick. Oh, someone's in the gravel.
Oh.
I think that's a paddock hill.
Yeah.
And there was a TSR car, there was a Simpact car indeed.
Oh no! Ow!
And the question is, who was it? I think it might be Piolo.
Coming through Paddock Hill there, he's the prime subject now. That wasn't Paddock Hill, but he's coming up to it now. Such a difficult corner, this one. You got to keep your foot in it.
Fine.
And he makes it through
Someone's
just fine.
very slow there on the inside, having
already recovering.
Anyway,
final lap for all these guys.
Oh, Schosse running into traffic here.
Oh, actually, they're gonna have another. Schosse being held up here. He probably won't be able to improve.
Is that someone off on the inside as well?
I thought so for a second.
I thought so too. Was that Nico? No! What was that?
Abort the replay. Abort the replay. Burp, burp, burp.
First off, you're Nico 18, who's sitting in 9th at the moment. What? Oh, and he goes right across there. Big crash for Nico 18.
Terrible qualifying for him. Very quick TSR car flying through there, trying to keep the qualifying lap going. As Nico called it a day.
And he is gonna qualify in 9th or lower. That's not gonna be satisfactory for him here.
Sparks improving, getting very close to Schosse, but at the moment Schosse is still in P1.
Yeah, Sparks not gonna have a chance to do another lap.
Very close top 3. Look at these times right here. Within a 10th, all 3. Very close.
Indeed.
It's beginning to be a spicy one yet again.
Indeed it is. And just about 0.3 of a second down to Ayrton Spencer, and then it's he's so close to Piolo as well on there, so it looks to be a close race indeed. The field very close. When the level is high like this, the field usually is close. Nico 18 in 11th place in the end.
Yeah, terrible qualifying session for him. I think we were all expecting bigger and better things. Things are falling apart in the booth at Dirten's house.
I just pushed something onto the floor, and I'm gonna bump the microphone as well.
So, time for a quick pace lap here. Time for some wiggling like you got ants in your pants.
Let's just hope that everyone sees each other here.
Yeah,
so we don't
absolutely. We don't want to deal with any more of those predictable old bugs that Polyphony seems too unbothered to do anything about. And as you were touching on, it really is getting frustrating now. Come on, please fix these basic bugs that have been here since day one. Come on.
Yeah. Polyphony, please.
Polyphony, please.
Please.
And Grosso here bugged still. That's if you're pit bugged, usually that transfers
doesn't
to
bode well for the rest of the race.
It's
very painful to see.
The Portugueser in very poor luck. His teammate on pole position. And then 2 TX3 cars right behind that. Sparks and Aura. That's gonna be a deadly duo for TX3 in this race. Ayrton Spenna in 4th. Piolo 5th. The first of the Simpact machines.
Sparks already applying that pressure even on the formation lap. He's not taking it easy on Chelsea.
Very, very close. Not
And
even
Russell-
really weaving that much, showing he doesn't care much about. And we're
Let's
getting
go
the
to Cole's
restart.
restart call. So that means we'll probably have a... We're gonna see
And
a
I
lobby
gotta say-
restart on this one.
I gotta say, I'm happy to see that, even though it's a bit longer of a wait for us. I'm happy to see Ingrosso actually get a chance to race here tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
Very, very poor fortunes for him to get stuck out in both these things like that. Not fair at all.
Yeah, as if starting at the back of the grid wasn't already bad enough.
So,
So someone tune the elevator music, please. Oh,
Well, now it's Martin's part of the booth that is falling apart here.
Yeah, if you could see, I'm holding on to all of my stuff now.
Yeah. Statistically, Traels, you're next.
statistically speaking, yeah.
I'm hanging on though. So far, so good.
No squeaky chairs in this stream as of yet, as well. That's usually from your side.
Yeah, but I'm not in the rig now, so that won't be an issue. I'm on
that makes sense.
I'm on my desk chair and it's quiet.
Oh, how old-fashioned.
I'm in my
Yeah, I
couch.
It's not a very old-fashioned chair, actually. It's very fancy.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like.
I'm kind of annoyed I don't use it anymore because I feel so fancy when I'm in it.
So this time it's Stick hosting the lobby instead of Welsh. That might help stability issues that we've been seeing for both the GT4 race and now. The
Yeah,
first
hopefully,
start
because
in
it did
qualifying.
seem like there was a bit of issues, and Stig hosting the lobby and then having issues himself is not boding well for the quality of his connection. So
That might be an issue on Welsh's part as well, with the lobby that he was hosting. I'm actually not sure. So we'll have the grid being set right about now, and that means the start of the race, the warm-up lap and such, will only be a few minutes away here. Maybe a short chance for drivers to warm up that little bit extra here. We have car leaving the pit lane. Do
Testing
an
the
absolute...
waters.
Yeah, I was just about to say, was that a Gerhard Berger? Like coming too hard on the throttle and just going straight off. It was, by the way, that was one of the most bizarre Formula 1 accidents that I have basically ever seen. And I have to say, I don't remember what track it was. It might have been Catalonia, but it could very well have been something else. And I'm sure someone in someone on track, I'm sure knows of this. Yeah, probably. But I would someone in chat, I think.
Trackside camera and someone just shouts, "It was Barrichello on."
Well, it was indeed
Some
Gerhard
say
Berger. It was Gerhard Berger in the Ferrari coming out the pits.
Name I could think of.
Yeah, and some say it was the very first yeet to be ever caught on TV camera. So special moment in history that.
Yeet.
Yay!
No problem for Hagi. Welsh Mason mentions that we're gonna cut the formation lap, so we're gonna go straight to racing. I don't think it's gonna be a standing start. We're gonna see the rolling start format used by online, the official online lobbies in GT Sport as well, and that means that we're gonna have the field a little more spread out. I think that we're usually.
Yeah, and we're gonna have the fields on slightly colder tires as well, I suppose.
Yes, I'm quite sure, unless they start hot, which I'm not sure of. I don't know. Do they start hot? I'm not sure.
Oh, hello.
Some stuff is happening.
Where did he go? Let's keep our fingers crossed for no bugs, please, because I don't think we're gonna get another restart, because that's basically just gonna take too long.
I saw the minimap before. There was a car like floating around in space on the minimap.
Oh.
Yeah. Or rather, there was a car floating around in the woods, I guess, in the infield.
I was gonna say, I don't think space is modeled on the Brands Hatch track.
No.
Only the track and the nether realm, of course. A car going the wrong way? Is Martin racing?
It wasn't me. That's a fair statement. Usually it would be me.
And Grosso really making the most out of the restart here. He's making sure to get some track time in. Nice to see that he managed to escape the pit box. 5 seconds to go here. And we will be cutting that pace lap short. So it's go, go, go.
It's go straight from the off here. The Simpact Aston Series. The GT1 main event here from Brands Hatch. Just about to get underway, and as opposed to what we were expecting, is this gonna be a standing start? It is gonna be a standing start. That's gonna be something for the drivers to deal with.
Yeah, no traction control for these guys. Lots of horsepower.
Yeah, watch for a lot of slip and sliding once the lights go off.
And they're off!
And it's green, 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 and the cars are off!
And it's go, go, go! Into turn 1 they come, by the way, I'm sorry.
Chassis keeps the inside.
Oh, that's a couple of cars going into the gravel trap there.
Paddock.
Yep.
I see a TSR car going really slow, losing a lot of positions. Chassis still maintaining that P1 position. Sparks as well, holding off Aura. And actually, Aura is defending from Piolo, who's made a bit of a climb here. He's in P4, putting pressure on P3.
Yeah, that's the car of Welsh, who's down in 9th here. We're watching in Grosso and 10th. We're gonna have another look at what happened there at the start of
A lot
things.
of slip and sliding.
Here on board we are with Grosso from the back of affairs.
Looks like someone made it 3 wide.
Oh!
And Grosso
Wake.
just making it through. First bit of good luck for him.
And up here at the front of affairs, Chassis, Sparks, Aura, and Piolo all very close together. And they are followed by Ayrton Spanner and Sailor, the Norwegian.
Bit of a tap.
I think that's a bit of a Norwegian swerve.
Sailor giving it everything to keep it going with this pack, but this is a very crucial moment in the race. If these guys are able to keep it going, they can really pull away from the guys behind. Still tagged onto the back of Ayrton Spanner here.
Oh, and right back here it is.
Ooh, Piolo in trouble. Down into P6 he goes.
Someone's at the back. Someone's in the pits here. Someone's in the pits. That's Nico 18, the winner of the first round.
Terrible luck for him.
Rotorius has had some incident as well. The CRN boys are in terrible luck here today. Wake as well in 11th, and Grosso seems to be hanging on to the end of that bunch. It's still Chassis leading Sparks, Aura, Ayrton Spanner, and Sailor, with Piolo having fallen down into 6th place after having a bit of an incident there. Oh, and there's another incident! And that's Sailor, yet again.
Oh, Sailor's off, but he saves it. He keeps it going. He does lose the position to Piolo and drops down into 6th position.
Yeah, he's too wide with the 77 car here.
You don't want to go too wide up through that corner. Very hard to make it stick, and you can see no contact. He just simply isn't quite able to keep it on the inside. Once you don't hit the apex, you don't have quite as much camber, and the car will wander out a tiny bit on you. Just enough to put you off the line sometimes.
You're on board with the Wang Cam from Chassis Machine as he's still defending from the two TX3 cars behind. Sparks seems to
he's
be on
been
the
defending
move.
since the race started, basically.
Yeah, Sparks seems to be really on the hammer here. And Shosse doing well to keep him behind because there really isn't a lot of space between the two cars at the moment.
Yeah, and it's constantly offering up the opportunity for cars behind. Big slide for Aston Spinner there. Really committed to getting a strong exit and just overcooking it a little bit. He's still not dropped too far back though. I think he kept his foot in that wiggle all the way through. Pretty cool. But now both GX3 machines is building the heat on Shosse. And it's going to be a hella long race if he's going to be defending all the way through. Though he doesn't have to do much to keep the car wide. It's a long time to keep your eye on the track in front of you and the mirror watching behind.
We know Shosse is a master of strategies and he might have some kind of trick up his sleeve here. He could well indeed be fuel saving and then when they come out the pits be a couple of seconds ahead of, and then put out the hammer of his own, you know. He did have the pace in qualifying. And he's managing to keep the two TX3 cars behind for now. Ayrton Spinner seems to be a little bit of time here.
It's actually a pretty big look from Sparks, but that's never going to work out trying to go around the outside there. But they're so close, and this is actually giving Ayrton Spinner the chance to recover from that big old wiggle.
Yeah.
And Piolo is also getting closer, I think. He's on a bit of an island. And then you have Sailor and GT Welsh further back.
Very much so. Further down the way here, it's Rotary in 8th place under pressure from the Portuguese here. And here comes... Oh, up ahead, some action happening as well.
Oh, that's a bit of contact down in Hawthorne.
Is that Piolo? No? That's Welsh. That's Welsh.
That was a big send.
Might be a big old long replay. He gets the run on Sailor here, the Norwegian having fallen down the order quite for a bit. Goes to the inside, Sailor. It's nowhere really to go. But they just make it through. And then into the next one. And they might be
Sailor.
a little less lucky.
Whoa!
Well done by Welsh to keep that going and hold it off. And it's playing right into his hands that Sailor came right into a defensive situation against the cars behind. Still the same situation in the lead. Shosse just narrowly keeping that position all the time. Doing well to make the car wide, but he's got to have a plan here unless he just wants to put everything right in the hands of the TX3 team. As Jimmy puts it in the chat, he's giving Spark some extra fuel saving, and that's a very true statement.
You can really see the amount of momentum being lost by both Shosse and Sparks coming through Hawthorne. Iora catching up like almost 1 or 2, 3 tenths of a second.
Yeah, Aura's looking very comfortable here. He's just kind of watching how this battle is developing and hanging out right there. Probably doing quite a lot of fuel saving as well himself.
Also seems we've had one of the ART drivers leaving the building.
Yeah, I think that was Splurge with an early incident. It's a shame to see. Although CRN have got to at least feel a slight bit better that it's also happening to someone other than them. 3 cars in 2 races so far. Terrible, terrible day for them.
That's very much true. By the way, hello, Cliche. Nice to have you along. You've joined at a good point. We've got some action for you at the moment here.
Big old tin of action being pulled right open.
Indeed, here with the top 4 separated by no more than a second. Well, it's just over a second actually, but you know what they say about commentators and being wrong.
Yeah.
There's Rotary and Grosso up into 7th place, also having gotten past on Sailor, who just doesn't seem to be finding any bit of form here. Of course, having picked up a bit of damage, that might be some of the reasoning behind it. Rear arrow damage for Sailor. And Grosso have done well to start last. It's been last up to 7th, that's halfway through the field. And
yeah, he's really making good on justifying that restart. So nice to see him actually get the race in. I was worried he was going to see his entire evening slip away through bugs. So happy to see him get a good race in so far. This top 4 is a good race indeed, really action-packed. Aston Spinner now closing right in on Aura. Getting some support in the chat as well from Skull TBD. Nice to have you along, by the way, mate. Too wide through Druids by the TX3 team. I think the armistice between the two TX3 drivers might well be over here.
Toto's not liking this.
Toto's certainly not going to be liking this at all.
Oh, really opportunistic by Aston Spinner there, recognizing that he was going to get a terrible run. And he takes that position coming out that left-hander. You see, he just spots it.
Bend, is it?
Yeah.
Good stuff from Ayrton Spanner, up into 3rd place and now putting pressure on Sparks actually. And that whole debacle actually allowed Josse to gain a little bit, but as I say that, Josse gets hit by the curse.
Yeah, I think he recognized the need to really push right there, and just overdid it a little bit. This is like his big chance in the race so far to run away. Hopefully, in his mind, Aston Spinner will get up to Sparks very quickly here, and Sparks will have to start thinking defensively instead of hot-lappingly. I guess you could say,
yeah.
In terms of pure pace and aggressiveness. As soon as Aston Spinner shows his nose for the first time, that's going to change Sparks' mind about how he approaches these laps. Josse is still on a blistering pace and very quick through Sector 1 here.
Josse, I think, is now trying to put down the hammer with a little bit of an advantage here. Oh, that's Ayrton Spanner! That's Ayrton Spanner!
And you have to imagine his heart rate was just pounding at this point with the great climb he's made early in the race.
Oh, he managed just to catch it there and not lose, well, I say too much time. It's, of course, a big loss of time in the end. They're losing it in 30s. Let's have another look at the entire situation.
And that's about the worst corner to lose it, with a big long straight, the longest straight of the track coming right after, because that's gonna... The bad momentum is going to hurt you all the way down.
Oh, he just missed his lines coming into the braking zone there and sort of got put off by the car ahead, taking a different line. And I don't think he recognized that he was kind of pointed towards the grass. That's unfortunate, but he did well to hold on to it and sort of keep it going.
So
Josse really putting the hammer down.
Yes, 1:23.4, fastest lap of the race so far for the German in the lead. And you have to say, the TX3 boys, was that really such a good idea, beginning to battle between themselves there, through Druids, down through Graham Hill?
That definitely cost them the really powerful position they were in with two cars glued to the back of Josse, and Josse recognized that immediately and put the hammer down. Really clever racing. As you said, he might well have a trick up his sleeve, and he certainly did in this case. Keeping a good eye on the situation behind him, recognizing when he should be pushing. Now quite able to keep up the pace on this lap though, and we are seeing the gap stabilizing, if not even coming down. It's actually come down by 5/10 already. So Sparks making that climb again. He's still in the slipstream on the quickest parts as well.
Yeah. And that's certainly going to aid him along. He's also 2/10 up on his personal best lap, so all these drivers really showing their pace at the moment here as we're coming on to lap 10 of 35 that we've got to do. Josse is still leading Sparks, Aura, and Ayrton Spanner is, I was about to say still there, but he's dropped off after that bit of an incident.
Yeah, and Piolo is seeming like he might actually have picked up the pace a bit. The gap is growing to GT was behind. I think Piolo is suddenly seeing, well, okay, actually it wasn't that quick the last lap, but suddenly seeing Aston Spinner. Whoa!
Big wiggle.
Big wiggle. He keeps it going. The thing I was trying to say is suddenly seeing Aston Spinner out ahead is going to provide ample bait for him to try to push a bit harder. He was looking really quick after Druids there, but even with the wiggle, still a good time. Through Sector 1, the gap is growing. Aston Spinner seeming like he's on a really quick pace in this race as well, and he's doing everything he can to recover, but it's going to be a big ass to catch these top 3 that have just been flying away from the rest of the race.
So a good recovery being done by Wake, who's made it up into 7th place, gotten past Rotary, and Grosso is down into 9th and has lost some ground. I wonder if the Portugueser has had some kind of incident. I figure that kind of has to be the case.
Something must have happened.
Yeah, and Grosso was up at some point here.
TX3 boys really regaining some composure, but not yet in such a strong position as they have been, though.
They're still in control, 0.6 of a second. It doesn't look like Shoss is really able to run away with it. At this moment, at least.
No, I think when he really started smashing it there, that kind of caught the TX3 guys by surprise, and they were in a situation where they couldn't start pushing immediately, but right now it is looking like they might have a strong response to Shoss's pace.
But as mentioned before, Shoss always wants to have a trick up his sleeve, so...
Yep, and he might indeed still have another one to go. He's always a master of the strategy as well, so let's see how he makes that stuff work. He might, well, even with being in the lead for the full race, still have a lot of fuel saved and still have a very quick pit stop.
Through Dingledale in the Sheen we go.
Look at this now, there's actually a scrap developing for the hashtag not last place.
Yeah.
Of, well, it's 10th, 11th, and 12th, and it's Sailor, Rotorius, and Nico 18, 3 drivers who were really at the sharp end of affairs last week and really on the pace, looking like they are suffering, and it's at the very other end of the spectrum for them today here. Oh, as Rotorius goes well off onto the grass. That's exiting Sterling.
Wake dives into the pits there. But yeah, an interesting not last battle what we got here. It's all guys that I would expect to be high up. We've seen them in that position and one time or another already in this series. That's basically new. Nice little touch to have both drivers' names on the door of that Aston Martin, by the way.
I think actually Grosso have been into the pits because looking at his fuel levels, they are quite a bit higher than what Wake had in the car coming in.
Ooh, that's looking very cozy.
What happened to Sailor? Bad happened. Sadly, it's out of our reach. We missed it, focusing on the battle for the lead, I think. That's now all back together here.
Yeah, it's really come back together, and the TX3 boys are back to full attack, I think, with Aura in a fantastic position here. He could be one to take both cars ahead on the pit stop if he manages to get his optimum out of this in terms of saving a bit of fuel. The question if it's the turn
into the pits as well.
Oh yeah, from 6th place. As he leaves almost a fuel tank, or a full tank of fuel, and that should take him to the end of the race at this point. Although, judging from lap count, that looks more like a 2-stopper to me, but should be possible. Should be a 1-stopper for these drivers on these tires, the lap count and everything. I'd be very surprised to see them stop twice.
Getting calls that Aston Spinner went off again before that pit stop, that's very unfortunate if that is indeed the case, but he seems to have lost quite a bit of time as well, so that's very possible.
Ayrton Spinner.
Aston Spinner.
Spinner. He's gone way down the order. He's all the way. Where is he even? Oh, he is there in 6th place still.
Yeah, he is in 6th still, yep.
There's quite a bit of a gap here, 21 seconds down, but he was, of course, close.
Did he get damage, Jim? That's a good question. I think it's out of our reach to even figure it out by now, but that would certainly explain an early pit stop and in a time where it makes us question whether or not he'll be able to make it to the end without another stop. Schosse putting on the pressure again, building a bit of a gap. Possibly this time just through sheer pace. He's very close to his best time on this lap as well.
Yeah, impressively so. Very, very, very consistent. Netso Racing, it is of course leading the 2 TX3 cars with Simpact in 4th. That's Piolo, who despite a bit of hair racing moments is still up there.
Yeah, and he's done well in a difficult situation. He's been on his own for most of the race, so it's been all up to him. No slipstreaming advantage, no car to follow, which sometimes is a bit of a crutch to rest on mentally as the race goes on. But he's done really well on his own to stay within reach and to deal with the cars he's faced.
Very much so here. Nico 18 up into 7th place, having gotten past on Sailor now. Further down here is Rotorius, and Grosso is up into 6th place, so that's really good for the Portugueser. Given that he might have had a pit stop early, that could be looking like a 2-stop for him. Certainly at Sailor getting a bit of a moment yet again here for the Norwegian.
Calls in chat that it's looking like 2-stopping might well be the strat. We'll have to see how it goes. It is not exactly easy on the tires, this track.
And it is a short pit lane as well.
It is a very short pit lane. If you have a look how well, was it Sticky that overtook the field?
Yeah, he very much did. Very much did.
Looking at the tires of the leaders, it's I mean, they've hardly had anywhere to them yet, and we're close to halfway through the race. The drivers are still with half a tank of fuel left in the tank at this point, almost. At least these 3 front runners are. I'd be very surprised to see any of these 3 stop twice.
Yeah, I think it makes more sense for them to keep it going as well, because they're all going to be staring at each other, and if one of them pits early to do a 2-stopper. Oh,
there we go.
Actually,
say that.
What was it that you said?
Ignore what I was saying.
It's gonna be a very short stop, I think, fuel-wise. And no tire change as well for Aura, who's back right behind Piolo, 2.5 seconds off.
That might be a bit of an attempt of an undercut, or maybe even they've told Sparks to try and get a bit of an attack going on Schosse to try and lose him time and have Aura do the undercut in the meantime.
Yeah, it would be a brilliant strategy in this situation to keep Sparks putting pressure on and give him the allowance to try to start attacking, and then that's going to give him the chance to take the lead. Meanwhile, that's going to help the undercut of Aura. Yeah, that is definitely a good plan. Let's see if they're as smart as the Egg Boy.
The big bread.
The big brain Egg Boy. So standings here, lap 16, as we're nearing the halfway point of the race. Schosse is still in the lead in front of Sparks, none of them having taken any kind of pit action yet. Piolo is in 3rd, he's not pitted either. Aura he's in 4th at the moment, and looking perhaps to undercut these 2. Ayrton Spinner there in 5th place. And then Grosso, after starting last, is up into 6th. Could have had his only pit stop of the race. So it could be all about climbing from now on here for the Portuguese. And Nico 18 seemingly also having refound his composure. He's in 7th now. And Sailor, who's not had the best of races so far, is in 8th. And now Sparks is really harrying down Schosse in front. And the German, cool though as ever, is hardly making any mistakes. As I say that, there's the slightest of misses there on the apex. There was a little more tarmac to use.
It does set him up to have a really good exit. You can see even with the slipstreaming, it's not until the very end that Spark starts closing in, which must have meant that he got a very, very good exit through that. And that is exactly what you're trying to do in Graham Hill.
That is very much true, and perhaps I should just stop being a wise ass.
It's a very Dr. Disrespect. Like, oh yeah, you see, you missed the apex there. If I was racing, I would be maybe like 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters, just 6 centimeters closer to the wall. Yeah, you see what you're doing there is you're losing about a tenth coming out through that. If I was racing, what I was doing.
Like, there's an apex, but you might want to try and hit it.
Just classic rookie racing there.
He says, looking at some of the very best, I would say, GT Sport drivers we have.
Yeah, such a stacked grid going on. Considering it's a Thursday series and it is supposed to be a bit of a casual setting. There's so many S's when you look at the grid at the start. There's a lot of SS drivers and the rest of them are basically A+. So very solid, very solid.
Yeah, it's a very strong grid. Like, it's not IGTL strong, but that's the very sharp end of the community racing, and it's almost there.
Yeah, indeed. And yes, Ronk, very nice to see you still supporting Sailor. He really did it the utmost he could, and he looks like he has the pace, but just not quite working out for him here. But that's racing.
Always nice to see. Did so well last week, Sailor. Was really
so strong racing last week.
Showed the pace and the potential. Indeed,
it could be one of those situations where I've had that before, when you go to a sporting event and your girlfriend is coming along to see it, and then you do way worse than you do normally. That has happened before.
Indeed. Oh, here on board we are with Piolo and the Wancam facing the direction of TX3 Aura. That undercut is facing some scrutiny now, because being held up here behind the Simpact car is gonna ruin it completely there. Piolo with an aggressive entrance into Paddock Hill. Works out fine for the Italian. Oh, a big old look for Aura there on the inside.
And that's gotta be a Code Brown moment for Piolo. I think he knows he's at risk of a very aggressive yeet here.
I think Aura also just recognizing that basically has no right to send it in that situation, and any kind of collision he's gonna be causing is gonna be more or less his fault if he does indeed decide to have a late launch. But Druids is one of the best overtaking possibilities. If you can line it up through Paddock Hill and the exit of Paddock Hill up into Druids, that is the prime overtaking spot as they get more than close here. All the way down to Dingeldale, but not a chance for Aura. The way is shut. It was made by those that were Italian, and the Italians keep it.
Aura making haste to try and make that undercut work.
Sparks pitting in here. Sparks pitting in, and Schosse staying out. So the German needing now to put in some real pace. Mind you though, if they're not changing tires, there isn't really that advantage to pitting pace-wise. So you could say in the end, staying out for a little bit longer on less fuel could indeed be the best strategy to go by. Surely that's what you'd see in this simul, because this like tactical situation that the drivers are looking here at. Aura goes on to the grass. But it's very similar to, say, an ILMS or an IMSA, where you don't have the fuel, but you do have the tires to complete the race. And in those situations, the fastest thing, often the fastest thing, is to go as far as possible on your fuel in order to have the car as light as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Aura now also seemingly to be a bit more aggressive now that it's really visualizing the time that he has lost by pitting early.
Another
Because
look here.
there's quite a gap that is built between him and his teammate. They were very much glued together at the point that he came in.
Yeah, he took a chance by pitting what I would say is very early for a one-stopper, which I suppose it is. And that he certainly paid the price for it, coming up to Piolo relatively quickly, but the pace difference just not being big enough that he's actually able to make a comfortable attack.
But he did set the fastest lap of the race in the process with a 1:23.209. Shosse, though, also on a good pace. The question is 9.2 seconds, 9.3. The gap seems pretty static between Shosse and Sparks. The big question, of course,
we have seen Sparks being able to close quite big gaps pretty quickly early in the race. So I wouldn't necessarily just put it beyond Sparks to be able to perform this mini undercut, I almost want to call it, relative to the massive one.
Oh, what has happened to Aura?
Ooh.
What has happened to Oh no, that's
way off.
That's in Graham Hill. That's a big old picnic up on the grassy fields there. Almost having another moment on re-entry. And Piolo apologizes, so there might have been some small bit of contact beforehand. But something that we're not going to be able to see, though. Piolo stopping and waiting up afterwards, though I think he decided not to wait for too long. And he's probably going to be slowing down to give that...
He is probably going to take his pit stop anyway, so it's not really necessary to take action and try and wait up.
We did see in those cuts in the replay jumping back and forth. We saw several very aggressive overtaking attempts and just general aggressive driving from Aura. And on occasion, you can pay the price from that simply by stressing out the car ahead. And not an optimal situation from Aura taking that gamble on the early pit stop.
It is difficult when paths meet between drivers taking different strategies, because you know that the guy in front is going to have to take his pit stop, and if it has that much effect on your race that he sits there, it is going to be, I want to say, annoying is not the right word, but it does kind of spoil the strategy. But yeah, that's the risk in taking an early pit stop. There's always the chance of dropping into traffic.
Yeah, very much so.
As we are getting a message
there.
from... pushing it to the utmost of the limit there. As we are getting a message from the race organizers that incident between Piolo from the Simpact squad and Aura of TX3 is under investigation. So we'll have to see how that one works out. And we should be careful to hold judgment until judgment is passed. Ooh, that looked very wide for the... Was it a Netso car?
I think that was in Grosso before. What's up in Dinkeldale? Oh!
Yeah, he misses. Once you miss that curb, you gotta clip that apex. As soon as you miss it, you're going wide no matter what you try. You can't brake too hard or you'll start slipping.
Yeah, he managed to keep it pretty well, the Portugueser.
Yeah, he does keep it very well. It seems like everyone's familiar with going wide there. They've tried it in practice and they sort of know what the save is. Because everyone we've seen so far outside of qualifying have kept it going.
So let's have a look here at the race order. At the moment, it's Shosse in the lead in front of the two TX3 drivers. A very unlucky situation there for Sparks. Currently sitting in third. It's of course Aura, who's currently in third. Sparks is in second, and we're gonna see how that situation is continuing to unfold once Shosse gets his pit stop over with. It's Ayrton Spenner still fourth, and Grosso is up into fifth place, having started last. Good job there from the Portugueser. It's Piolo sixth, and with that pending investigation to his name, Nico 18 up into 7th, and Sailor is still in 8th. And looking at the drivers a little bit further down, it's Welsh 9th, Rotary here in 10th, very close to Rotorius. There's actually a bit of a battle between the two, and it's Wake in 12th. There as Rotary goes well off, and that's Dinkeldale claiming another victim.
Yeah, Dinkeldale, a good place to get stressed out by the car behind, and I think that's what's happening here. Rotorius had a big look to the inside, and Rotary might have been looking at his mirror because he just misses the apex again and goes way wide onto the gravel. Hasn't Grosso pitted? Yep, he pitted pretty early, but probably within range of a one-stop.
Shosse now 9.8 seconds, 9.9. He's gaining on Sparks. And Shosse, look at that, he's only a 10th off his best lap. The German really being Mr. Consistent. His last lap, 1:23.3. That might not be fastest lap of the race pace, but it sure is very, very close to. And he's hitting those marks consistently. As I say that, look at that consistency. Shosse, I just said, I have to say, he just reeks of class. When you watch him race, the way he defends, the way he just seems to never really get bothered too much by the pressure, even when it's really getting hot underneath his seat, he keeps a cool head with a hot ass, I was about to say. I think the 9.8 seconds, around 10 seconds of an advantage that he's currently holding on to will be enough to get him out in front of Sparks, but that'll have to be... we'll have to have a look at that once Shosse gets around to pitting in.
Yeah, and at the moment it looks like he might be doing the strategy we do in iRacing in these shorter races, I want to call them.
Wiggle.
Run the tank as close to dry as feels comfortable in terms of the race situation, and then pit for fuel to do as many laps as possible with a lighter car to minimize tire wear and increase lap times.
Yeah.
And I'm actually kind of surprised to not see anyone else around him attempt the same thing. Very early pit stops from both of the TX3 drivers.
But yeah, it seemed to be that everybody was expecting maybe tire changes, or maybe just forgetting that they weren't doing tire changes here for this race under these conditions. And that could very well affect things.
Just is not caring one bit about tire wear. He's certainly not going to need new ones. Quickest Sector 1, or at least improving on his own. Quickest Sector 1 late.
And that's also what I meant about Shosse earlier, the tricks up his sleeve part, that he's the type of driver that can fend off such a position while still saving fuel, saving his tires for the late charge that we know almost always comes from him. And even when he's hit by big weight ballasts, we've seen him in series of past where he's been a consistent and always up there challenging for titles. He's often been hit by big success ballasts and such, and but he always finds an interesting solution and an interesting strategy that often also pays dividends.
Speaking of interesting strategies, he just keeps trucking at it.
That is an interesting strategy.
Trucking in GD Sport. To be fair, Shosse was also the one to introduce us to the Toyota GD86 truck spec with the amount of weight ballast that he was running in the Toyota GD86 championship.
That's very much true. It was quite a beefy chunk of lead packed in his rear boot. If it got any more serious, we'd have to give him the Joe Pesci penalty, which is driving around with a man in the boot and then stopping to kill him amidst the race. Seems to really be nailing it. He had a small mistake running a little bit wide a couple of laps ago. Cost him a couple of tenths, but no more than that. Seems to be back to his old ways. Jimmy mentioning that's where Buncombe took him off. And then hashtag never forget.
Yeah, all it needs is an additional comment saying hashtag never forgive.
Oh, that would have been a good one. So we're well into the final 10 laps. Schuss is holding a 10-second lead. And it's looking very good for the German. For the first time here, though, now Sparks making a small gain. But that counter always going up and down.
I'm assuming one pit stop is mandatory or something, because he's running very close to just keeping it going here.
I might have to look that up, actually. I could.
Could you imagine the scenes if he's just fuel saved enough while beating everyone to run it out without any stops?
That would be a very Schuss-like thing to do.
Nico 18 is in, I think, for a necessary stop here. So Schuss must have saved quite a bit of fuel to be in the situation that he's in, although he's not going to be able to no-stop it. It's just not going to be a possibility with 8 laps, 7.5, 8 laps still to go. Although I don't think there's anything in the rules that say that pit stops are anything, that there isn't really any mandatory having a look through the rules. Well, that are a very simple rule set. No mandatory pit stops, that is. So,
no,
and as we say that, in goes Schusse for a very quick splash and dash. Now let's watch the exit here as he comes out in front by 1.5 seconds. Indeed, it is a little bit less.
Sparks doing everything to get through Paddock Hill really quickly, coming up to Druids. He's basically within slipstream range, and that's going to make all the difference if he's able to maintain that coming up to the first straight. What's up, Fabro? Fabro9, welcome, buddy.
So Schuss.
I've got to say that.
Sorry, Martin, do go on.
No, you after you.
I was just about to say that Schuss really showing that he actually had to put in those absolute hammers laps again and again and again to actually.
Yeah, he might well have been
clear.
in trouble had he not managed to do that cleanly, because I actually thought he was kind of running away with it, but he's gonna come right back under pressure here with 7 laps to go.
It has to be said that Sparks did a really good job of keeping up to Schuss, because it did seem like he was very much running away with it, with the consistent lap times that he's been putting in.
Yeah, absolutely, and I was definitely trying to be careful about riding him off, because we did see him close gaps to Schuss very quickly, and slipstream does not account for very much here compared to a lot of other tracks. The straights are simply almost not long enough for you to build any advantage in terms of momentum. It is all about driver skill coming through these corners, but he is doing very well to put the heat right back on Schuss here.
In the battle for the not last place is Rotary and Wake, separated by less than a second as well now. Wake not having had the best of races, to put that lightly as well.
No, Wake getting his race dashed very first and very quickly in Paddock Hill coming through there on lap 1. Big incident that took a few names, but a lot of them have done well to recover.
Indeed. Fabro, thank you so much for the subscription. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you very much. Was that just an on-stream sub notification? That was so nice to see.
It was. I need to. I've gotten my fingers on an MP3 full of Murray clips. I'm gonna do some magic to them and get that working soon. But hope to see you around sometime soon again. Fabro, have a good night and take care of yourself in these coronavirus times. That goes for everyone. I have to say, do follow the guidelines that are being issued from your local health authorities and stay safe. Joseph?
I'm not saying any of that. Go lick a stranger.
Go live your best dog life.
Find someone with a dry cough and just put your mouth on his mouth and have him cough straight into your lungs.
And that vacuum the shit out of his lungs. Show him what souk means.
Go to the hospital and put your mouth on top of the ventilation shaft exhaust thing.
Sounds like a great plan to me. Josse, is he now feeling the pressure here with less than 5 laps to go? It's now within a second. And from what this looks to me, we're in for another grand finish here in the Simpact Aston Series.
Yeah, the guys always being so good to us when we're making these broadcasts. It's very rare that we don't get some sort of late race action, and we're definitely gonna have it here. Sparks slowly but surely moving up to Josse. And Josse by now, I think surely he must be running out of tricks here.
Oh, really? Yeah, of course, Fabro, that's not to say that there aren't any other big issues than coronavirus.
You can have more than one issue.
Yeah.
I'm sad to say you can have multiple issues at the same time.
Adult life sucks.
Real life sucks.
Real life is just more issues.
And
You solve one,
Grosso
you get
with
10
a
in
late
Grosso.
pit, and it was called that it might be enough to take him to the end, and I was feeling skeptical about that, and sadly here he has to make a late splash and dash.
Put in a quarter of a tank in order to do a couple of laps. That seems a little overkill, and he's gotten out a second behind Piolo. I'm thinking here is in Grosso, perhaps he could actually have, been out of the pits a little before that. And he might have been out ahead of Piolo in that case.
Yeah, and if not ahead, at least close enough that even just getting through paddock hill would be scary for Piolo, and that is not a situation you necessarily want to avoid as the car being caught. Very close now as Sparks has moved his way right up basically to the bumper of Josse, and Josse is now driving with 2 eyes pointed in different directions, one to the front making sure he hits his lines, and one on the mirror making sure, or on the radar I suppose mostly in GT Sport, making sure that Sparks does not surprise him with a sudden yeet.
Josse gets a very good run there through Paddock Hill. They had 3 more laps to go. Druid, though, aims for a good exit, seems to get it to me. It's 0.4 of a second. Sparks just that bit away too far back to be able to actually launch anything. Ron with a good question there. Any snooze brothers in chat? It's I don't know. Is snooze? Is it a slang for sweet that I haven't heard of? If so, it's absolutely hilarious.
Snooze brothers.
If so, that's the most hilarious stuff I've heard in a very long time.
What is it they say in Blues Brothers? It's 3 a.m. We got a quarter tank of gas and something full of snooze.
Full of, and you gotta say it right. You gotta say it in the right way. We got a quarter something full of snooze.
Yeah, I can't remember what the actual lines are.
I don't remember it either.
2 laps to go here. Sparks is just glued onto him. These last laps are gonna be action packed.
Yeah, Sparks definitely carrying the momentum as well, coming up to Josse. He's been closing down almost a 2-second gap ever since the pit stop of Josse has appeared.
It was 1.4 seconds as it settled as they came out the pits. As he kind of had a run, Josse came out slowly and didn't have the same pace in and through Paddock Hill. And it settled, but he's caught that gap up. He was almost in the slipstream from the moment they were released upon each other, you could say. Here after that pit stop by Josse, and I think that has made all the difference. Traels called it as well, that he was just about in the slipstream, so important for Sparks. But as Murray Walker said, and has said on many occasions back in the 1990s, one thing is catching Josse, and getting past him is quite another thing indeed. And we'll have to see if Sparks is capable of just that here, as they're coming on, nearing into the final lap of action. Yet another amazing race. It's been
And actually, it still is.
It's been so far, and it still is.
It still is, but it's looking, if you ask me, it's looking like a big task for Sparks here. We saw how comfortable Josse was for those first 13, 14, 15 laps before we saw Aura make that early pit stop. He was holding off 2 TX3 cars and still looking ever so graceful, ever so effortless.
Here there's a battle for 5th place and a battle for 7th at the same time. We're gonna have a look back at Josse and Sparks as they go so close to each other through Graham Hill. On board with the TX3 car. This is the final lap.
This is going to be the biggest chance that Sparks has. He has the slipstream, strongly so. He needs to get a strong exit here to have any shot at making a pass, and he's not going to be able to coming into here. He gets denied a bit of the slipstream through some tactical weaving from the German. He just doesn't quite build the run. He's going to need to be very close after this series of right-handers. If he wants any shot at making it down the short final straight before...
It's Sterling's here, maybe? No, it's not gonna be.
Oh, Josse missing a little bit of
Big run for Sparks.
He's having go.
He's gonna have to go the long way around.
A bit of a
Late moving on the break, just before the braking zone by Josse there, and Sparks gets denied. There's not gonna be much he can do now.
And Josse takes the checkered flag and wins round 2 of the Simpact Aston Series in grand style indeed.
And I think we've had some incidents further back. We have apologies coming from Nico. Aura is looking like he's gonna take 3rd position.
Looks like he had a moment there with GT Welsh.
Too late for us to
car.
catch, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Aura has taken 3rd position. Ayrton Spenner in P4. Piolo, after getting tangled with Aura and hitting the brakes for quite some time, ends up taking a close 5th position, chased by the, in the beginning, very unlucky Ingrosso.
And look at this here is
recovery.
Welsh and Rotorius going too wide into the final corner. It's Rotorius taking 8th position in front of Welsh. Behind them it's going to be Sailor for 10th, Wake in 11th place. And who's that going to be? Rotary, not having the best of times as well. He's going to be 12th. But what a finale. And they're following each other around side by side.
And yes, play a strong showing for TX3 once more. You guys never seem to disappoint when it comes to these longer races. Always a guarantee for entertainment, so thanks a lot.
Very, very much so. It's been a brilliant race for the 2nd week in a row here. The 2nd week out of 2 possible. That is 100% hit rate so far.
2 for 2, baby.
2 for 2 here in the Simpact Aston Series. It's been a great, nice night of racing, and it's been such a pleasure bringing it to you. We're gonna go to race results there, so we can have a definitive look at the final standings. That was a good one indeed. It was a good one having you lads in the booth again. Such fun doing these 3-man.
Always a pleasure.
All these 3-man.
Run a bit of a streak, even.
Yeah.
Filling the booth to the brim.
Indeed. Yeah, we are, and we've had quite a bit of guests watching along as well, you can say, of viewers. It's been so nice having you all along, and I want to say thanks for tuning in here tonight with us. I hope you have enjoyed the racing, and as Traels have mentioned earlier on, do leave a like if you've liked what you've seen, and you're very free to leave a dislike if you don't. And
thanks so much to the people that have left likes already. It really is much appreciated with the support. Thanks so much to all the guys active in chat. It's always a pleasure to have you guys along and see what you guys think of during the race. It's always hilarious. So thanks a lot for that as well.
Ronk's gonna buy the Sailor a Happy Meal tonight.
Yeah, now I kind of want a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
Aww.
I also
So in
feel
the end, Sailor 3101, the true winner of tonight's race.
You want a Happy Meal.
Yeah, she also didn't get anything for his P1. He just got some points.
Yeah, who wants points? We want
Who
Happy
cares
Meals.
about points when you can have a Happy Meals?
And on that happy note, I think we're gonna round it off here for tonight. From myself, Dirten, from Traels and Martin, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will of course see you this coming weekend for the 12 hours of Sebring and iRacing. Tune in for that. It's gonna be a hell of a lot of fun, especially if we actually manage to survive, which is always the big challenge. And of course, next Thursday as well for more Simpact Aston Series action, as we'll be bringing you the third round of that series, or this series as it is. Very same place, very same time. So do check back in a week's time for more of the same. And until then, from us here in the booth, take care, have fun, and bye-bye.
Bye.